Okay. Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Draskyl here doing some replay analysis for the one, the only Grubby. He has requested that I watch one of his games, try to be as technical as I can be, break down step by step all the stuff that needs to happen in the game in order to potentially achieve victory. Now, just as a disclaimer, I have not watched this game, so I don't have any idea what's going to happen. I think the average MMR of this game is somewhere around 1,000. Grubby's really new to the game. I think he's still doing the A to Z challenge and stuff, but he likes NAGA. So he gave me this replay, and he says, he didn't say it in these exact words, but, you know, rip me apart. So we're going to try to be as critical as we can while still maintaining, you know, our learning mindset. So, first things first, at the start of every game, you should try to know what you're laning against. In this game, there's a Bristleback, there's a Weaver, there's a Shadow Fiend, an Abba, and a Clinks. As far as drafts go, even I don't really know where every single hero is going, but I see two heroes on the enemy team, a Weaver and a Bristle, where I already think I might consider starting with a stick. Now, since I don't know where the heroes are going specifically, that item's going to be on my mind. In some games, if you know what hero is going to be coming to your lane, and it's a Bristleback or a Weaver, or these heroes who have spammy abilities, it's very high value to either buy a stick before the creeps even meet, or by using the bounty rune gold to buy a stick and immediately sending it out. This is especially true on heroes who either need to use mana to farm or need to use mana in order to have lane presence, which NAGA definitely falls under both of those categories. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start. We're going to fast forward through the pre-game a little bit. Want to see how the lanes shape up here. As far as NAGA games go, if we're talking about hero matchups, the enemy team is obviously going to have way superior late game. There are basically 4 carries on Dire. So if this game goes late, a lot of people would think, obviously, Dire are going to win. However, since the average MMR of this game is only around 1k, what most likely will happen is that there will be, obviously, tons of mistakes made on both teams. And it's very unlikely that any one player in this game is going to be efficient enough to make regular timings matter. And what I mean by timings is simply whenever you have a certain amount of items, let's say a 2-item timing, which would be a Manta plus a Scotty, or a Manta plus a Diffusal on a hero like NAGA, whichever build you want to go. I think Manta Scotty is more common now. But the timings that we normally think about when we're watching high-level play is something that is kind of lost on lower-level players because they haven't quite yet grasped that efficiency concept. The idea of getting the farm, pushing the wave, and being in the right spot at the right time because you know how to play the creep equilibrium. And NAGA is really important to be able to do that with, because you can be super, super efficient with, you know, where you are and how much you're farming and all that other stuff. Alright, so we're contesting bottom rune, which is fine. We know that our level 1 is pretty good. We have a Disruptor and we have a NAGA. So Disruptor's level 1 nuke harass is really good. Naga's base stats at level 1 are also very, very high. So we have 7 armor, 700 HP. So sitting on top of this hill is a good habit too. I like this a lot. This ward placement, I mean, obviously this isn't Grubby's fault or anything, but you should probably never place a ward here. In fact, the 5 should just never start with an observer in the first place because the vision just isn't needed. So in general, if you're a support watching this, don't place this ward. But yeah, him sitting up here is fine. There's not really anything too dangerous. The only way he could theoretically die is if he gets like triple raised and hit by a Shikuchi and the bristle's chasing him. So contesting runes here is A-okay. He's gonna pop the Illus. I'm guessing it's because he wants to try to do the level 1 fight. Alright, so they're gonna get a kill here. Invoker gets first blood. That's good. Mid player getting first blood is a really great start for any Invoker. He's going to get his 1 rune. He'll have full mana too by the time he gets back to lane, so popping the Q there to hit creeps is no big deal. So he misses 1 CS. We're going to pull up the last hits and denies. Okay, so this is kind of a small thing, but as per his request, I'm going to be very technical with how I approach the beginning of this lane. He's already made a mistake, which is fine. That's why we're here. We're going to go back. We're going to watch. Now, the heroes sometimes turn invisible when you rewind, but when you see this range creep attacking this melee creep right here, Grubby is standing where my mouse is hovering right now, but the replays are a bit buggy, so you can't see his model. When this creep is hitting the melee creep, the range creep does more damage to melee than any other creeps. So if he hits this melee creep one time, his own creep, it will either die before the Weaver gets in position in time to last hit it, or he could theoretically hit it twice and get a deny, right? Because what will happen is this creep is going to take more damage, which means that the melee won't get another hit off. And if the melee creep doesn't get another hit off on this one, this creep will actually be higher HP and last hittable. So as far as technical laning prowess goes, this is obviously like way above the pay grade of like Guardian level. But in the spirit of trying to do every single thing that we possibly can look at to improve, he actually wanted to start auto-attacking this creep before he even thought about last hitting this one. Because you'll watch, these things are dying at roughly the same time. An auto-attack or two on this creep would more or less guarantee that he was able to get both. Now, the Weaver's reaction time here is pretty slow, so he still gets to deny. But a better player is going to get that creep every single time. We're doing a lot of cancel hitting here, which is fine too. Gonna miss that last hit, no big deal. But yeah, right now, we already want to be sending out a stick. What's he got on the courier? I didn't actually see what he bought. Okay, so he finishes Wraith Band. For the sake of this level of gameplay, a Wraith Band is probably fine, because these guys are most likely not going to do everything in their power to like harass and use their mana efficiently and do all these cool things. But if I see 2 active spells on this hero, 2 active spells on this hero, this is a 6-second cooldown at level 4, this is always a 3-second cooldown, stick is on my mind immediately. And you kind of just want to know these heroes by heart. Like Bristleback is a big one. Zeus is another hero that you're always just going to want to buy this item into every time. This is some really nice body blocking, actually. Warcraft 3 player. He might die for this. Very good kill. That was super well done. Much higher level micro than you would expect from a Guardian player. Alright, so we're 3-1. The Disruptor gets the kill. That's fine, too. We got one more Tango. So our HP is pretty low at the moment. Ordinarily, if we're sitting here and we're on this amount of HP and we're at 1 Tango, this Courier Send not having any regen could also be brought into a little bit of question, because when he spent this money, I'm pretty sure it was all he had. But if you know that you're low on regen, it's good to look at your inventory and be like, okay, I got 1 Tango. At best, if I plant this Iron Branch and I consume the Tango, I might get back up to like 80, 90% health, and the lane might be sustainable. But every time you get a kill, it's good to be in the habit of thinking of that as a reset for the mana and the health of the person that you are taking out of the lane. In fact, there are often situations where killing that person is bad, because what will end up happening is you'll commit your resources, and then they'll come back to the lane with all of theirs, and all of a sudden, if you don't have any way to get your health back or your mana back, you will end up losing a couple of creep waves. This is especially true in the early game, where the creep waves are worth way more than hero kills if you're not being contested. And contested simply means, are they able to beat me up when I go for creeps, right? Very simple concept. So yeah, he's on 1 Tango. If you have 1 and you have these 2 branches, you should absolutely place the branch, because this item is super cheap and it's going to increase the effectiveness of your regen. The lower health you are, the less aggressive you can be in the lane, and the less aggressive you can be in a lane where you're winning, it's advantage that you're not taking. So you always want to make sure that you're trying to be at a higher threshold of HP whenever you can. Ooh, a net skill. Okay, there is no way he expected this. I did not expect this, so how could he possibly have expected it? That's some Giga Brain stuff. So let's talk about, theoretically, this is a really good point to bring up for basically anybody, honestly. This doesn't even really pertain to just low-level MMR. But when you do something like this, usually the kill is not worth it. And what I mean is that it will end up hindering your farm to a degree where you will end up in the long run losing money because you don't have Riptide, and you'll also lose your ability to push out the wave, because that is the ability that's going to gain you creep advantage. So Naga gets Riptide on her illusions as well, which means that not only are you losing out on a little bit of farm, well, let's say a lot in the long run, but the guy is going to come back, right? he's going to come back and you're going to have this net skilled. And if he's not low, it's probably not going to result in a kill. So I would say that in this specific situation, the kill ends up being kind of valuable, but I wouldn't make this a habit. I would always steer clear of skilling and snare until I was certain that it wasn't going to hinder my game in other ways. And Naga is a hero that is all about efficiency, and skilling this kind of detracts from that goal. Every single hero in Dota has a job. They're like chess pieces, you know? Everyone can do something very specific. Naga hits a ton of creeps. A ton of creeps. So if you're not doing that, then you're not really playing to what the hero is meant to be, which is a very good creep hitter into carry type role. All right, so let's see what happens after this. We got some more body blocking here. The quills are stacking a bit. We should really be sending a stick out or a wand. I don't know if he's actually going to die here. Yeah, okay, he's not going to go under tower. But now, this is the point that I was bringing up earlier. Since he hasn't brought out any regen, he's now in a situation where he can't contest. So let's go back. Okay, he's going to get stabbed by the Disruptor. That's big. Okay, that's really good. I wasn't expecting a Guardian player to TP and salve his core, but that's really good. If he had a Tango, it would be even better. All right, now he's got the stick. So this is what I was talking about too, as a reminder of, you know, not having the Riptide at this point, because you could just send the illusions in, and the illusions would be able to push out the wave a little bit, or you can even use them to farm. Since Naga has one of the highest base armors in the game at low level, it's actually pretty manageable to jungle starting as early as like level 4, right? If your lane is not one that you can safely occupy, as a safe laner specifically, this is not just for Naga, this is all safe laners. If your lane sucks and you can jungle, just leave, right? And I can very easily see this lane turning into that. So you can already kind of tell this kind of heavily harass-oriented type of lane with Shikuchi damage and Quill Spray and getting chased down with things like Goo. Having the stick earlier would have been really nice because we could have used it, let's say, 2 or 3 times by now. But sending it out this late, if we're going to continue to stay in the lane, we buy the stick. If we're not going to stay in the lane, we actually don't buy it. So the issue here is maybe not knowing exactly what was going to show up in the lane. If that ever happens, you can go for a bit of scouting early to try to figure out what the lanes are. Keep your courier in the base so that you can decide if you want to buy a stick or not. So you hold the gold, and then you look to find the heroes that are going to be showing up. And if you feel like you need to start with a stick if a certain hero is occupying your lane, then you just buy it when you see him and send it out straight up. If you don't want to buy it, then you just buy regen or, you know, whatever else. Fortunately, Naga is a spectacular jungler, so even having a lane like this, it is very possible to still be super efficient. So let's continue this one a bit. Disruptor gets a pull. That's going to bring the creeps in, I believe. I don't know if there's going to be a counter pull. Kind of doubt it. There's also some micro stuff you can do in situations like this. If you're paying attention and you skill level 1 mirror image, you can actually block the camp with one of your illusions before it spawns. So let's say that you know that you're not going to be able to contest pulls because your lane is weaker than your opponent's. What you can do is send an illusion. You hit it at like, let's say 45, 50 seconds. And then you walk one of the illusions to the large camp to ensure that it doesn't spawn. That way the enemy team can't be more efficient than you in the lane with the camp. Because anytime a lane is stronger than yours, they're going to want to pull. And if you let them pull large camps in general, that can end up being a pretty big hindrance to your income. Alright, nice little net. So this net has actually gotten him 2 kills so far. I would say the more kills he gets, the more worthwhile the skill point becomes. But we also have to remember that as soon as there was 1 kill to the net, the Weaver has to respect that, right? And he's not respecting the fact that he has it skilled. So him giving the kill away is more attributed to the Weaver playing too aggressive. Alright, so we got our Glove of Haste. His item build is actually fine. The stick is the only thing that I would say, if he was going to buy it, buying it right away is always good. But since these two, like the Weaver and the Bristleback, they are actually feeding kills, like the Weaver specifically. The good thing about this lane so far is his targeting. He understands that going on the Weaver is much better than going on the Bristle. That's good. Shows an understanding of what a hero does. Every time the Weaver goes in, he gets punished for it, which is how it should be. Just trying to do a bit of microing. I like sending the illusions onto the Weaver to push him out of the lane. That's also a really good habit to have. If the Weaver is forced to Shikuchi away from the illusions, that means he can't use the mana to harass us, which is great. So every time he hits one of those, and we get a stick charge, and he's not dealing damage to us, that's a huge win. Like right now, he has 10 charges. And that's another ensnare too. The Weaver's gonna die again for that play. So right now, he should be hitting the stick, like straight up. And the Glove of Haste is obviously not in his inventory, but that's not as big of a deal as not sticking here. So let's say he lost out on 5 or 6 stick charges there by not just hitting it. So let's go over another concept. When you know that the lane that you're playing against is spammy by nature, there is virtually no reason to hold your stick charges. Because you know you're just going to get them back, right? Quill Spray, Nasal Goo, Shikuchi, sometimes a Swarm, perhaps, if the Weaver's not dead. So when you hit it, you're using this mana to continually spawn illusions, which is the bread and butter of your laning phase. And a lot of safe lane players are also going to have, or heroes, excuse me, are going to have nukes that they can use to farm as well. Like Troll is a good example of this. So you never really want to be sitting on a full stick or wand unless you're saving it for them to try to all-in you, and you use the stick to bait. Otherwise, there's really no reason to ever hold it. And the extra 5 or 6 stick charges is another quarter of his mana bar that he could have, right? And yes, we're being super nitpicky. I know that he's very new to the game, but if you want to get good, you have to know all of the things, right? You can't just be good at one thing. You got to be good at all of it. And the laning phase for carries is really important. So we're going to try to be as critical as we can be. I think, yeah, the Abba pre-shielded here, so he might just die. Kinetic Field was a tiny bit early. We're going to back up. I like the back. I do like the fact that he's playing the lane aggressively when he sees that they really don't have a whole lot of CC, right? Like Abba, Bristle, Weaver, there's no stun between these 3 heroes. Alright, little miss micro on the courier. Gotta be careful here. Good stick. That was an on-time stick. We like those. He might be dead, though. Ooh, yep, just barely. Almost got out. Not quite, though. Alright, so let's go back and see if there's a way that we can avoid this situation. We're just going to go back a little bit. So right about here, if we look at our other hero's resources, the Disruptor, he has 1 spell. And again, this is just like stuff that you have to get in the habit of if you want to improve, is knowing what your allies have in addition to what you have to decide if going in is good or not. So because this guy only has 1 spell, I would say that there's a pretty low chance that we're going to be able to get a kill. Pushing out the wave in this case would be better. Just putting the illusions on the banner creep that we can see on Dire side right there, and just pushing out the wave. Right now, they are very scared of him, but they will figure out soon that after a couple of seconds, when the 3rd hero arrives from Dire, that it's going to be turnable, and it's going to end up being a kill. So what I would say is to avoid situations like this in the future, instead of saying, okay, I just kind of overplayed, just keep tabs on what your support player has to offer you. Sometimes your support player is not going to be able to do anything in the lane. Sometimes he's going to be able to solo zone 2 heroes. Sometimes he's going to be able to do a little bit, but not a lot. It really just, that part of it is going to be up to learning the matchups. But right here, it's just simply because the Disruptor had low health and mana, right? That's why the situation goes south, more or less. So he's like still looking for heroes. The other thing too is if we stop here, if he just went and stood in trees instead of showing his hero after this guy dies, then he also could live. So there's theoretically 2 ways we could avoid the situation in the first place. Play for the wave, play a little bit further back because we know the Disruptor's out of mana, or once we've put ourselves in this situation, the other way to get out, because we know, first off, these 3 heroes combined don't have a single stun between them, right? We could even just TP, right? We have 4 stick charges. We could TP to this tower. We could TP to base. We have like a couple of different plays that we could theoretically make here to make it out of this situation unscathed. And again, this is about efficiency. What are we getting done right now? We're kind of like looking at these 3 heroes in our lane. We can't really do anything about it. If it were me, I would probably TP to base. I would TP here. I would walk out base mid, and I would start farming like these 2 camps. And then if I see them stay or I see them leave, then I simply make my way through the jungle, and then I go back to lane and I push it out again, right? Because it's still a little bit early to think about teleporting to the top lane. It is a play you could make, but it's slightly risky. Walking to these 2 camps after your TP, you're going to be farming back towards the lane that you were occupying in the first place. And then your TP will be up again roughly by the time you farm this camp, these 2 as well, if they're not contested, and you get here, right? Now, that's a farming pattern thing that he'll learn over time. But as far as, you know, choices that can be made after this type of situation, teleporting to get your mana back and then farming is obviously going to be your best choice because farming is your highest priority. It's always going to be your highest priority. I would say teleporting out of fights is maybe the single best thing that you can learn as a carry, because as long as you know who can interrupt you and when, you'll always know that you can TP and get out safely, even heroes that don't naturally have escapes. The abusable part about Dire's draft is they don't even have a stun. They have Requiem of Souls, which is technically a fear that will stop a teleport, but that's ulti only. Every other hero on their team does not have a method of stopping a teleport scroll. Not only that, but because most of the heroes on Dire are predominantly physical damage, that makes it great for Naga because her armor is naturally so high. So we could abuse teleporting out so many times this game. We could play super aggressive, force TPs, teleport away from all sorts of stuff that happens to us. Now, you're not going to get these types of games all the time, but when the situation calls for it, teleport scrolls are very powerful. Alright, so we teleport back to the lane, which honestly, being bottom right now isn't that bad. I would say in terms of CS, he's obviously quite low, but that's because a lot of attention has been drawn to his lane. There is a good chance that just jungling, if he was doing it efficiently at this point, would be faster than occupying this lane. And we know that we can't really kill the Bristleback, so we're not really applying any real kill pressure here. Alright, so this TP to the lane ends up being kind of bad, solely because the SF makes a rotation. But this time he's hiding in the trees, which is great. We just want to stay here. We have TP in like 12 seconds. The SF most likely just walked down here based on where he came from. Whenever you see a mid player approaching from that kind of small and large camp area, good chance he probably just walked. And it's good to know the TP economy, that way you know who can fight you or not. Okay, showing like this ends up being a little bit sus. He might die. Yeah, he's dead. All right, so let's go back. We're gonna go over the deaths and figure out what leads us to this situation. And again, we can go back and say like this TP, when he originally comes back to the lane, it didn't seem that bad. But because of the SF rotation, it ends up being really, really sketch. The other thing too is, let's take a look at the creep wave equilibrium. Like, it's under their tower, right? This SF is obviously very farmed. They have the 3 highest CS in the game right now. The Klinks is 43 and 7 8 minutes, so that guy's more or less free farming. I think it's fair to say, of all the heroes in the game, for safe laners, Naga and TB probably jungle the fastest. So it's good to have that information in case a game ever goes this way, where you feel like your lane cannot be occupied. It's actually fine to just go hit jungle creeps on those 2 heroes because they do it so quickly and efficiently. Your illusions are tanky because they have high armor. You're tanky, obviously you have high armor, 5 health regen too. I think that there are a lot of players who will maybe fight too much for the lane when the lane is not really something that you can hold on your own. So let's say our mid player was like teleporting for us and stuff, and he sees like fights happening and he's contributing to the fight. That's great. Then you can stay and maybe you make kills happen, and that would be fine. But if our Invoker isn't going to play with us, the worst thing that we can do is stay in an area where we're not hitting creeps, right? Because it's 8 minutes in. We probably have, let's be generous and say we have like about half of the CS, right? Half of the CS that we should have. We should have like 40, maybe 50 CS. Some of those are going to be jungle camps. You can farm the small camp very easily with Naga. You can walk up over in this area right here where the bounty rune spawns. This camp is great for Naga because it can't spawn anything besides centaurs that have an AoE. So for example, a large camp can spawn the trolls. They summon the skeletons, which are actually pretty easy for Naga because you have the high armor and they don't kill your illusions that fast. But they can also spawn the hellbears. And the hellbears will just grief your illusions if there's more than 3 targets in range. They will nuke them, and that's bad. You can micro split and have 1 hero and 1 illusion, and then 2 illusions tied to a separate control group. And that way you can farm 2 camps simultaneously, which is what most of the good Nagas will do until later on, where you can split all 3 of them, and then you can farm 3 camps. But in the early game, your illusions aren't strong enough to do that, so usually it's 2 and 2. So yeah, teleporting down here ends up being a bit of a misplay. But he had the right idea after coming here and realizing, oh yeah, this is actually kind of not good. The other thing to take note of is we don't have boots. And not having treads finished. Just for the record, when you're playing Naga, treads are great because you can tread swap to int, make your illusions, and go back to agility. Yes, they will have the intelligence stat, but you're saving a lot of mana by always tread switching, and that way you're a bit more efficient with how you're jungling. So the pathing that we take back to this tower, we're kind of putting ourselves directly in harm's way. Like, we started up here above this big broken tree. What we could do is we could just simply walk down this way and not show. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is an important aspect of gameplay that applies throughout all stages. It's not just the lane, it's if I'm sitting in trees and they don't know like precisely where I am, the chances of players just going over here and like looking for you, let's say even up to like Divine and Immortal, most players will just stop trying to chase if you've been out of vision for more than like 2 or 3 seconds, right? Because it becomes a guessing game. So we want to use that to our advantage. We want to sit here until we have information. We didn't have any information when we walked out. We didn't see any of these heroes. We didn't know where they were. We just saw creeps dying under the tier 1. It's very easy to fall into this trap. As much as we always push the terminology like be efficient, hit all these creeps, you know, do all this stuff, the issue is that sometimes it is better to just be patient and not die, right? Because farming is really high priority, but in order to farm, you have to actually be alive. So there's a lot of benefit to be gained from not giving up your real estate too easily. And if he wanted to, again, he could have just sat there until his TP was up and just gone up here, right? Or he could have teleported back over here and farmed these camps, like I said earlier. So he'll end up paying with his life. Alright, so we're dead for 20. Let's fast forward a little bit here. Alright, he does get the boots. Alright, there's the treads. Big. Big, big, big. This inventory is already enough to sufficiently farm the jungle. He does not need to ever return bottom. In fact, I would say that if there is another TP bottom, it is a mistake for sure. Let's see what happens. Okay, so he sees the SF actually, which is why I believe he TPs. Let me rewind to make sure I saw that correctly. So he waited. I believe he saw this guy mid. Yeah, I think he saw him, and then he TP'd when he saw the SF. So this actually ends up being okay. I would say not having information and TPing would be very bad, but because he saw a hero before he TP'd, it ends up being fine. This is something that also applies to basically any role at all levels, is TP economy is very important because it basically dictates when you are safe and when you are not safe. So for example, a hero walks to your lane and he ganks you. You see him under a ward, walking from mid into you, and he kills a hero, right? That means that he can also make a quick move to the complete opposite side of the map because he didn't use his teleport to get to where his first kill occurred. That's why things like power runes are so strong, right? You get a haste, you get an invis, you can walk to a side lane, get a kill, and then immediately respond to something else, right? So it works for mids, for supports, for safe laners, anybody. This is applicable throughout all roles. But when you see someone teleport, you know for sure that they are trapped on that side of the map and they cannot contribute to a fight if it occurs elsewhere. It's just something to keep in mind. I know that this sounds very, what's the word, basic? But it is basic, and a lot of people still don't do it. So just remember that if you get ganked like that and you know for a fact they didn't use their TP, you can't actually make another move unless you're bringing like more heroes to outnumber them on one side of the map. All right, so we got our jungle farm going. This is good. We got some, we got a stack, actually, a large stack. It might take all of our heroes, or illusions rather, and hero to farm this. Nice little stack too. I think he actually tried to stack the large with this other illusion, but it didn't last long enough. So he already knows about the 2-2 split, so I didn't need to tell him that one. We're watching the fight bottom. It is great that we are not walking down there. I cannot emphasize how happy I am that he is not walking to that fight. That is so good. And the occult bracelet is also extremely good for our hero. Anything that gives us mana regen is fantastic. So we see all this information. We actually have pretty good vision. We're gonna go back. We see this fight occurring. Now these are both stacked, so I'm actually fine with him farming these two camps out before he does anything else. But as soon as these are dead, what I would consider is starting to walk towards mid. As a carry, it is your responsibility to push out lanes when you know they are safe, because the lanes is the way that you create pressure in the game. If you're a 1, which simply refers to the hero who has the highest farm priority, if you aren't familiar with the terminology of 1 through 5. 5 is the least, 1 is the most, usually the safe laner. But if you are the 1 and you know you can't fight, the way that you contribute when you can is by making sure, like in this case, the mid and the top wave get pushed in. Because what'll happen is it will create pressure that the other team has to address. And if they don't, then the tier 1s start taking damage, and eventually they will die. And when they die, that's map control that you gain for your team simply by doing your job, which is farming. In a lot of these lower level games, people will also respond very poorly to sideline pressure. They'll overcommit, they'll undercommit, they'll TP heroes that shouldn't be TPing there. There's like a dozen different misplays that can happen because you just decided to push out 2 creep waves. So let's see, the later the game goes, what kind of stuff happens because of that. So yeah, we're good farming this. I'm happy to see him kill the stacks first. That's good. Prioritizing the stacks is great because the SF can very easily come and steal these. But as soon as we kill these, we actually want to leave and probably walk mid. Alright, he's sending the other 2 to the medium camp. That's nice. He's looking at top. Now, top is a low priority tower. The only thing that top tower really does for Radiant is allow them a TP location for Roshan, but if your mid T1 is alive, that one is pretty much just as good. So as far as distance-wise to the Rosh pit, the mid tower is pretty much equivalent to the offlane tower, and he does walk to the mid lane, which I think is great. He gets raised a couple of times by the SF, so taking a bit of damage, but nothing too bad. The hard part about this game, honestly, is the fact that the Clinks is not a hero that we can really... We can't bully him out of the lane. And because of that, it kind of makes it awkward, because by this stage in the game, ordinarily, what will happen is the safe laners will swap positions on the map. So the enemy safe lane is going to be in your safe lane after, let's say, 10 minutes. And then you're going to go to his lane after 10 minutes. And the reason this happens is because most of the time, the safe lane heroes are the weakest heroes in the game in the early stages. Let's say first 15 minutes. Obviously, there are exceptions to this, like there are in all of Dota. There's always going to be heroes that are better in lane than others. But the reason it's important to remember is because it's a natural flow of the game. The 3 hero and the 4 hero, which are the 2 offlaners, core and support, are going to be stronger than the respective 1 and 5 that they're playing against, let's say 70 to 80% of the time. So when that happens, the 1 is naturally going to have to leave, and the 5 will have to find something else to do. What the 1 wants to do is go to the safe place on the map. And if the tier 1 tower is dead in the enemy safe lane, as it is in yours, which will also happen quite often, it just means that that part of the map is worse for the enemy team to occupy because there's no longer anything there to defend. So that flow is important because when your lane is going poorly and you know that you let's say you can't jungle, you know, you're not this Naga hero, then you can make a decision to go up there and play that side of the map. There's also another added benefit of playing in the enemy safe lane after 10 minutes, is that when the enemy team rotates to their own safe lane, what do they have to do after a fight occurs? They have to walk all the way across the map to do anything else, right? They can at best push your offlane T1, which we've already said is not the greatest building to push. Alright, so we've been doing quite a bit of talking about this safe lane stuff and where to occupy. But the tier 1 top is still alive and ours is not, so what do? His position on the map right now is actually completely fine. This is probably where I would be right now. Either that or I would be mid, because I want to get one more wave out. But our Invoker's already walking there, so it's actually fine that we're bottom. We don't want to step on anyone's toes farm-wise unless we literally have to. Like, if we can't be anywhere else and we see the Invoker there, we should kick him out because, you know, we're 1. We have the highest farm priority. We should have that spot. But when you don't have to, you don't want to do it. So I like that he's pushing this wave. Offlane T1 is dead. Still doing the nice little double split with the micro. We have a Yasha. Our farm is recovering nicely. Our laning phase was obviously a bit scuffed, but, you know, that's why we're here. We're here to learn. I like that he's taking this wave and shoving it all the way to tower. Now, what we could do right here, as soon as this wave dies, this is another really, really important thing to learn. Critical for illusion heroes especially. Naga is, and TB I guess to an extent too. These are the ones that benefit from this the most. Every 30 seconds, a creep wave spawns, right? If we look, our creep wave spawned over here. It's walking past the tower. We know for certain that there's going to be a creep wave right about here, right? Because they spawn at the same time every time. We also know that this is a cart wave, right? Because carts spawn every 5. If you didn't know that, now you do. So when this cart wave spawns, if we want to apply additional pressure, what we can do is we can hit mirror image. We can walk our 2 illusions past the T1, right? Because we know that with this inventory, Treads, Yasha, Wraithband, our illusions are more than enough to kill the wave already. Like, those 2 illusions will probably kill the whole wave. So the benefit of doing this is that we don't have to put our hero in danger in order to continually apply pressure to the lane. That's the benefit of illusions. So we pop it, we take our second control group, which is the 2 illusions, we walk them right here, and we will cut this wave, kill everything but the cart, because the cart's super tanky, and then we will have a full like wave coming in, and then this wave with the cart behind it hitting this tower, right? This is the way to create maximum pressure with the least amount of investment. So let's see what happens here. All right, so he does pop the mirror image, but watch what happens, right? If we had our illusion standing here, the creep wave that's coming in is going to start hitting this wave, and then the tower is going to stop taking damage. It should be there about now-ish, in a couple of seconds. Yeah, there it is. All right, so imagine, for the sake of argument, that this whole wave was dead except for this cart. The creeps are still going to get pulled off the tower, but since it's just a cart, there would be a lot less damage going out onto this thing, and it would eventually die. And then when this wave comes in, they're still actually going on top. So this is a situation where we're going to talk a little bit about awareness, right? Awareness is simply just being able to do what you're supposed to do and look over here at the same time, right? These guys are like super omega committed to this. This guy is behind the tier 2 tower, right? This bristleback. This guy's over here just chilling. He's got his Abba behind him, casting a Photic Shield and all that cool stuff. But when we see stuff like this, we actually don't want to be in the jungle at all, right? So the first thing that I explained was if someone were to TP respond to this pressure, which is going to happen in higher level games, people are going to have teleport scrolls for this kind of push. If they don't teleport, then it is your responsibility to be there and apply even more pressure to the lane, like double down. Make them respond, especially in situations like this where the enemy team doesn't have stuns. Now, I know that, he doesn't have Song skilled right now. And in some games, you're going to have stuns. That is going to happen. They're going to have ways to kill you. That's also fine. You can get an earlier point into Song instead of Ensnare. And when you force the TP, you are removing pressure from your side of the map, and you're creating pressure on another at the same time. This is a habit that we're going to want to form throughout every single game. We see them fighting behind one of our own towers. We can decide to either TP. If we don't want to TP because we feel weak, then we double down on the lane. Those are your two choices.
Its top tower is under attack.
What he's doing right now is still lucrative, but it's not actually benefiting his team in any way. Like, it's lucrative for his hero, but he's not gaining any map control, right? The map control is really important too, because when the tier 1s die, it creates more spaces on the map that you as the 1 can occupy. And if you can't be there because the tier 1 is alive and you feel scared to pressure the lane, then you have less real estate to work with. And Naga is somebody who is super greedy. Let's do like a basic analogy and say that all the core players, the 1s and the 2s, they're going to be like the hungry hippos. They just want to munch everything, you know? And you're only going to have a handful of people who are going to be able to provide space for that. So the cool thing about Naga is that she can be the one who creates her own space by doing stuff like I was mentioning earlier. You see this Klink's teleported down here, right? This Klink's TPs, it's pretty late as far as TPs are concerned, but we also haven't looked at what's happening top, right? We looked, okay, now we have. All right, now we can look. But this is still one of those situations where if we wanted to take it one step further beyond, you know, we want to go Super Saiyan 3. We want the crazy big forehead and the huge hair. If we go all the way back, all right, let's take it to the next level if we want to do the most Giga Brain thing we can do, right? Going back here, I don't think I went back far enough, actually. Let's go further. Okay, yeah, right here. This is where I wanted to be. Right now, okay? We're a TI player. We're RTZ. We're Ame. What are we going to do? In all honesty, what they would probably do if they saw 3 heroes top is they would bring their hero here. They would delete this wave because they know it's a cart. Because they know that it's 15 minutes, right? This cart spawns. They walk through here with their hero. They mirror image. They auto-attack with their hero the whole wave. They have Song skilled. And then if someone TPs, they walk up this hill and they farm the triangle. Now, what's the benefit of being at the triangle? Being at the triangle means that we are equidistant between mid and bottom. So every time the creep wave spawns, every 30 seconds, we can hit our mirror image. We can split our illusions towards mid. We can take our hero and 1 illusion and farm this wave. Now, what this accomplishes is we're cutting 2 waves simultaneously. If we have Song skilled, we know we have a retreat button. We know we have a teleport scroll. We're basically in no danger of dying, right? Now, I know that it's hard to know this because obviously he's newer to the game. But Naga is that hero where you really have to push your boundaries, right? We are pretty far behind. So if we want to get the biggest impact, we also technically have to take the biggest risks. This is by far the riskiest play in a normal game where the enemy team has stuns and ways of killing you. In this game, it's actually fairly low risk because they don't really have that many ways of killing you. Like, this guy is the only one who can do it. He has the Shadow Blade item. If he Shadow Blades on top of you, hits Requiem, you're probably dead. But even then, I would say it's still a risk worth taking. So the 2 options are like the illusion split here and then go jungle, or Giga Chad, walk back here with the hero, push mirror image, split, cut both of these waves at the same time, and pretty much play exclusively on this high ground until they make you leave. Make them address you. Sit there and be that guy from Men in Black who's yelling at the giant cockroach whose name escapes me right now, just saying, "Eat me." You got to be that guy. His name will come to me, I'm sure, but many of you know what I'm talking about. That's what you do when you're behind on this type of hero, because you can also get out of that situation. Some cores can't do that, but this one can. All right, so we went back about a minute.
Unstoppable.
Tommy Lee Jones, that's the name. All right, we got it. My chat helped me out. Don't tell anyone. All right, so we are still chilling, farming some neutrals, watching the fight top. Okay, we did see this once already.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Now, it's important to keep in mind the early game has very long-term ramifications on the rest of the game. Any hero that has natural farm accelerants is going to be much more hindered by a bad early game than others that don't. Simply because your skill set exponentially increases the more farm and levels that you get. So I would already say, as far as games go, it's been rough, right? It's been rough. We can look at the CS and be like, yeah, you know, we're 106 and 7 at 17 minutes. It's not that bad, but Naga usually wants to be the guy on the very top of this net worth list. You want to be way, way up there.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
So we lost our tier 2 top, which means our outpost is open.
That's for me. Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
We're still keeping the bottom lane pushed. It's hard to play up where the triangle is right now because we know that they're there in forest, but we also have vision of it, okay? This is a concept of, like, how can we effectively utilize the vision to our greatest advantage? And usually, like, this movement right here is great. This movement into the triangle. It would be even better if instead of going there, he walked to the right. Because the creep wave, 40 seconds in, is going to be roughly, like, let's say, by the tier 2. And then 15 seconds or 14 seconds is going to be roughly between the tier 1 and the tier 2. This is going to be a thing where every single carry is going to benefit from this. Every single carry is going to benefit from knowing where the creeps are at what time, because cutting is one of the most useful mechanics and honestly one of the most underutilized mechanics in every single bracket. Even, like, let's say mid to high immortal games, you are going to see it a lot more often than everywhere else. But it's the foresight, right? It's understanding that you actually can't fight. So in order to create a moment for your team, you need to remove their ability to push. And the only way to do that is to pressure another lane. Or in Naga's case, you can actually do 2 at once, right? Huge benefit of this hero. All the good Naga players will do this, I assure you. Okay, this TP is... Let's see how it works out. I probably would not have TP'd here. Alright, we got a song. We're going to get hit by the Requiem. I don't know if our team wants to fight or not. I can't tell. Alright, Kling's still under the tower. Okay, nice. It actually ends up working out. Not bad, not bad. Sometimes these games are a bit hard to follow because the understanding of the game is very different from the games that I normally play, so when stuff like this happens, it's honestly as big of a shock to me as anyone else. So that TP actually ended up being very strong. Killed 3 heroes. Got a big streak. That's good stuff. So we just killed a bunch of heroes, right? Let's have like an order of operations. We just killed a bunch of heroes. What's the best thing we can do after we kill a bunch of heroes? Take an objective. What is the closest objective that we can possibly take? Mid T1. So that probably means we should be here, right? We know there's no Requiem. The SF just used it on us mid. We killed 2 heroes. Now, are we going to get the tower? Maybe, maybe not, right? But we are going to get damage. The second best thing we can do is push lanes. I like that we're kind of doing this farm towards the top lane thing. I like the idea of like setting the illusions and stuff. But hero presence is another thing completely. Like, hero presence means the creeps die way faster. The towers actually can take damage. And again, our goal here is to make people address the waves. Every time. That's a theme we're going to keep coming back to. Make them deal with it. You know, screw waiting for them to get it on their own. Deliver it to them. Oh, I actually quite like this Nether Shawl item. Okay, so small thing, but very important thing. Heroes that have ridiculously high base armor like Naga love the Nether Shawl. And a lot of you are probably asking, why would you want a Nether Shawl? That item, it gives spell amp and -2 armor. Well, Naga has 21 armor, which is already a ton. And magic resistance, 20 for a neutral item slot, over having like a little bit of extra attack speed. In a lot of games, this can actually be a great item. I'm not saying specifically this one, but if someone wants to play Naga a lot, there are going to be games where this item is actually your best in slot for a tier 2. Because there are no other neutral items that give you this amount of effective HP against magical damage that this one does, and the downside barely bothers your hero at all. So just something cool to keep in mind if you want to keep playing Naga. Alright, let's continue.
The Dire's top tower is under attack.
I would say right now, if we were playing completely efficiently, we'd have roughly like 4,000 or 5,000 more net worth ish. Like we would be closing in on our Scotty if we were playing like super efficient, no bad TPs or anything like that. If you watch good Naga players and free games, they roughly have the Manta Scotty like anywhere from minute 20 to 22. I like this cutting right here. It's a little bit sketch because there's some heroes nearby, but we are pretty strong. We have a Manta too. I think if we Manta there, we actually kill him. Let's go back. It's good to be in the habit of always just popping that Manta. Forgot to turn my sub sounds off.
Nether Shawl isn't bad on Naga.
That's okay.
It's just that it's usually much better on someone else.
Alright, here we go. Yeah, I think if we just if we pop our Manta as soon as we ensnare, like right here, if we Manta, he probably dies. Because we're getting extra Riptides. Yeah, he like barely lived. That's a little bit unfortunate. Those types of kills are great to get. This is another situation also where we can just simply TP if we need to. Like, I know this looks scary, but he, as long as the SF doesn't show up, he's actually in no danger at all. Just none. Alright, so let's go back and watch. Is this TP to base actually necessary? Could we have TP'd somewhere else besides the base that was better than this? Honestly, we could have probably TP'd bottom. I know it sounds kind of weird. Like, yeah, we're missing a lot of HP. But if we TP to the bot lane, the only person down here is Shaker. And we have a wave coming in with 3 ranged, right? So let's see what happens after TP to base. Alright, we're going to take the People's Gift. That's another great Naga item as well. Very, very good. Health and mana, 2 things that Naga loves. So this is kind of the thing that I was talking about earlier with like TP economy and stuff. When you're teleporting, I know it's a very easy habit to always TP to the base, but if you don't actually need to heal because your hero farms so efficiently on his own, it's better to try to TP to a lane instead. Even if you're at like 50% health and mana, when you know that that side of the map is safe, you will just naturally recover your resources while you're farming, right? And the more uptime that you have on the map, the better. I would also say that walking top here is... it's not the best. Like, this guy is extremely tanky. We're also hitting him almost exclusively in the back, or we were. Like, the pressure that we are trying to create here is just difficult because this guy's tanky, right? Like, we're using spells on him. Invoker, unfortunately, misses Tornado. But, like, if we were down here, right? Let's say, like, a minute and a half ago or wherever, he TP'd away from the bristle. If he TP'd to this lane, or 60 seconds ago, I guess, because the TP is 7 seconds. If he TP's to this lane, he's free, right? No one's here. Not a soul. Now, the problem with playing into this T1 is that we had a full map reset. What does that mean? It means that we TP'd away. All the fights on the map basically stopped. We're waiting for a hero to respawn. Everyone is basically going to be able to respond to anything that happens because there were all the T1s alive, you know? So the T1 benefits are that when you teleport, you're getting across the map way quicker. You're teleporting into a more aggressive position because it's the furthest away from your base. You have a dead Shaker, but he's going to be up in 1 second. That's not really a big deal. Walking down here first and getting this lane out, we're protecting our T2, right? And if we maintain our TP because we TP'd here instead, and it's going to be up roughly by the time we get back to this wave, then what ends up happening is, like, we shove this wave to the tower, they TP here, right? Because map reset. That means that they're going to have their own TPs. We force a TP, right, to this building if they want to hold it. And then we TP here, right? Because now their teleport scroll is going to be down. This is like a very basic way of forcing the enemy team to use teleport scrolls in a way that benefits your team, right? It doesn't even matter who it is. It could be a support. It could be a core. It doesn't matter. The idea is that you're pulling somebody away so that there is an opening for you to make a fight happen somewhere else, or simply just to acquire more gold. And all these heroes being up here, you know, 3v1. If we're talking about resource allocation, this actually ends up hurting us a lot, and I think we're even going to die too. Which is unfortunate. Oh, he has Song, actually. Oh, he didn't hit Song. Oof. Okay. That one's a bit rough, not gonna lie, but that's okay. These are Guardian games. These are definitely still winnable. Wow, that was a juicy echo. Holy moly. I don't know if it's like cooldown bug or he just forgot or what, but I think it's actually he had it there. I think I've seen him Song like once this game. Alright, so we're dead. We gotta think about what we want to do next, okay? So this is another stage in the game where the enemy team more or less has access to Roshan, and they also have access to your tier 3s. This is a stage in the game in pubs where we basically are never gonna want to TP away from the base. So here's what I mean. If we respawn, let's put it on a free camera for a second. If we were gonna respawn, TPing here is super dangerous. Why? Because TP cooldown is pretty long, 75 seconds. That means that at best, we're gonna like TP out here, maybe we get our mirror image off, we kill like 1 or 2 waves. We might have to just run straight back after the fact. So that TP doesn't feel good, right? Because we're gonna be like a rubber band. We're gonna go out here, we're gonna go boing, and we're gonna walk straight back to the base. That sucks. We don't wanna do that. What we want is the ability to get here and then have the TP for like a tier 3 push, right? Now we're a little bit behind the net worth. 6K is not the end of the world. This is kind of like a position where it is super easy for the enemy team to just walk up a hill and die, right? That's like one of the hallmarks of how to lose Dota. We walked up a hill and then we all died. Everyone's been there. I've been there like more times than I can even count. So what that means is having the TP available for the tier 3 fight is very powerful. So let's see how we respond. We're looking at what's going on mid, but we're walking because our TP is on cooldown. That's good, actually. This TP cooldown is great because it means that we can't actually TP in a bad way. Oh, we're kind of like walking towards mid. I think we want to do some creep cutting. This idea is actually quite good. Like this is much more than I would expect of this level of player to make this play. We're actually just gonna go in and fight too. Bristle's gonna die. Nice. We're gonna Song. Ab has ulti, but he should die too, I think. We should hit that bug. Nice. Oh, Blink Requiem. The pain. He has an arcane blink. Okay. Okay, so let's, is there any way we could have known that? Is there any way we could have known that? Do we have information regarding the SF before this point? Let's click him and see. Did he just get this? Okay, he just got this. So what we're gonna call this one is an item revealed death, which means we did not know that this item was completed until this happened. I'm gonna be honest, these are very hard deaths to avoid. Things like BKBs, blink daggers, hexes. This stuff is gonna happen to you from now until the day you stop playing Dota. Item revealed deaths just happen. The fight itself, I would say that it's still a little bit risky to be doing this, but I think that they felt they had the numbers advantage, so they wanted to go in. I honestly can't fault this play that much because whenever you feel like you have the numbers advantage, it's always in your benefit to try to get them off of the map and kill them. Like, killing them is the best thing you can do at this stage. If the opportunity arises, at least. This was kind of just unfortunate. Yeah, Arcane Blink Requiem is a tough go. But we still got the kill on the Bristle. The main thing that we're having an issue with is we're just not super efficient, and we're spending a lot of time like looking for engages, right? If we want to be super strict and use a general guideline, if the enemy team has like a massive advantage in terms of net worth and gold, which right now it's getting a little bit bigger, but it's far from insurmountable at this point. It's usually a good rule of thumb to just say, I'm going to TP to tower dives, and that's about it, right? You have to look at the one role as an island. You are so far away from everybody else all the time. You're on your own, you're vibing, you got your illusions. Okay, this TP is a little bit sus, but let's see what happens. Let's see if what I was talking about earlier actually occurs. The bristle's showing bottom, so it doesn't look like they're going to be able to pressure the tier 2 that much. I think this type of TP is very, very risky, and if it were me, I think I would probably just walk top. So let's see. Also, I think my sound just died. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the information that we had was that there were 2 heroes mid. We see the bristle bottom after we TP to the outpost. Why do I want to walk top? Well, first off, we have a Giga Wave, right? We have a Giga Wave. We can make our way into the enemy jungle pretty easily at this point because this part of the map is not being heavily prioritized anymore. Like, it's 24 minutes in. The natural flow of the game is going to take the enemy team into your own jungle more often than they will go into their own, especially if they're winning. If they're winning and they're spending all their time up here in their own woods, something is very wrong. If that happens, you just play opposite side of the map, pressure T1s like we were talking about earlier, and it's no big deal. But here specifically, because we know that we have information of people being here, and walking first, and then TPing back in case we're needed for a defense. But the idea that we're just like teleporting out here, not only are we making it so we can't respond to a fight, but we're also putting ourselves in a position where even though we have these wards, right, this part of the map is not super valuable to us anymore because this is where the enemy team is going to want to naturally be. So there's a good shot that we're just going to get punted out of this area, right? Even if we see them, we have to walk away. So let's see what happens. We're still hitting some creeps. And I mean, the cutting logic still works here. Like, if he wants to, he can walk across the river right now. And he can walk into their triangle and do the split thing that I was speaking about in the earlier stages of the game. But this information is actually great. This information that we just got. We saw Clinks show on a creep wave top. We see the Bristleback is in the bottom lane. This is a winnable fight. Because we know that 2 cores are not present. So this is the situation where I think that rotating over this way is fantastic. A TP could have also accomplished this, by the way, because he could have TP'd to the T2 mid, and then his heroes with stuns could have chased. And they also have a disruptor on top of that. But walking top on a TP scroll would have basically accomplished the same thing. And you would have not had this wave at this tier 3 point. Alright, little echoing the ground, no big deal. So this movement, like the aggro movement into the jungle, this is a really good mentality to have. Like, walking up, knowing that there's heroes mid, and gunning it straight for the lane that has, like, the T1 up at this stage in the game is what I would say is like, the best value for your time right now. And yeah, now he's got his TP, now he's cutting the wave, now he's looking bottom. This is perfect. He forces a TP, he still has Song, all he has to do is push it in TP and he's fine, right? This move, okay, so the mistake is like, we can TP to this tower, we can TP to this tower. We are going to regenerate our resources, we also have 26 charges. Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. TPing to base when you don't literally have to is always a mistake. He could TP to over here, push out this wave, push out this wave. He could actually TP top, send illusions here, walk farm the triangle, and then farm towards bottom. I know he's missing a lot of HP, but it's really not that much. You're regenerating 10 HP a second. He's really only missing, what, 1,000? That means in, 90 seconds or whatever, you're going to have all your health back.
A gift from the Tempest.
That's 3 creep waves of time. It's not that much. All right, walking top now is a bit suspect. And the reason why walking top now is a little bit worse is he TP'd back to base. He forced the Weaver TP top, but the Klings did not TP. They still have 2 tier 1s, safe lane, and they're mid. So what could very easily happen right here is the enemy team could be running back to their side of the map because that's the place they normally want to occupy. And we're walking up a hill with no vision where we see, under all of our wards, how many heroes do we see right now? Big fat 0. Goose egg. So this is the type of movement where when I mentioned pushing this lane, I specifically said illusions because this lane becomes very dangerous about 10 seconds after he gets here, right? Now, that's something that you're going to learn intuitively as you play, like when a lane is safe and when it's not safe. You'll just have that gut feeling of how much time you have. But here, he actually doesn't have any time at all if they've already started moving. Now, this is a Guardian game. I don't know if they did that or not, but this is something that you want to be really wary of, understanding how quickly some of these heroes can cross the map. Like Clinks and Weaver, they're going to get across the map real fast. If he walks up here and dies, it's because of that. If he walks up here and lives, well, you know. I've been wrong before. Wouldn't be the first time. Alright, so it seems like they didn't do any counter pressure. Just keep in mind that this area is very highly contested in games where the enemy team is ahead. Your own triangle becomes very dangerous when it doesn't have any wards. I think I probably would never have been brave enough to walk up that hill in my life. I commend him for his courage. Alright, so we're making the farm rotation back to the place on the map that we actually want to be, which is good. I think at this point we could probably push the wave to the tower. Who's down here? SF? Okay, SF is a hero we can't contest. So what do we do now? What we do right now, and we need to drill this idea into Akora's mind. You see this guy here? You don't walk to this camp, you walk over here. Every time. And the reason we walk through the river is because this guy can't be contested, right? And there is not enough space between this area and him because he has Shadow Blade and Arcane Blink for us to feel safe even going back here, right? There's a tower right here. That's scary. There's a tower here. Also scary. So this place puts us on a high ground. High ground is your friend. High ground is like your sixth hero. Being above somebody and seeing them coming is the moment in which you can decide what you want to do and then do it. I want to song TP. I want to pop my Manta and ensnare him. I want to do all these things. You can't have that information if this guy right now does his natural farm pattern. What camps is he going to go to? He's going to go here. He's going to go here. If these are dead, he might go one more wave and then walk up here, right? And that's bad because we can't fight him. So his natural farm is going to take him into us. So if we sit here for too long, then what ends up happening is he might rotate in, he might kill us, he might see us, the other heroes on his team might end up walking over here with him if they have vision, and then we might die. Now, fortunately, we have wards. So these wards are going to make us feel safe. But the safest place we can be is actually right here. And even if they were to teleport and they, for some reason, had a ward, like in this triangle, even though I don't think they've played here the entire game, that would mean that they are basically committing a bunch of heroes to walking over here with a low percentage play to kill our hero. And then, even if we die, that means that all four of these guys could push out these two lanes together, right? That's like the theory behind why that spot is so good to play. Also, the illusion cutting stuff. Put the illusion mid, put the illusion bottom. Send them behind the tier 2s, kill the waves. So where does the SF actually go here? I'm curious. I like that we sent the illusions over. It would be better if it was our hero. Because where our farm pattern is going to take us right now is we're closing in on 2 unoccupiable spaces, right? Like, we can't be top and we can't be bottom. Alright, so the SF actually walked back to his tier 1, which is no big deal. Our song is going to be up soon. That means we're going to be pretty safe to everybody but SF. SF is like our... Let's call him our kill condition. The thing that's going to ensure that we die every time is the SF. That's the guy that we have to avoid at all costs. This is true for any core role. There's always going to be a hero or two on the enemy team whose skill set just kind of destroys you, and you have to play kind of counter to where they're playing so you don't run into that problem until you itemize in a way that allows you to deal with that. There's a lot of really cute stuff you can do on Naga in games that don't have any stuns. Like, for example, if we were playing here, like these camps died. I believe the Klings was actually over here before. If we were playing here and we started getting contested, you can walk between these towers at night. This is like a little bit more high level stuff, but you can walk between these 2 towers without being seen at night. You can walk between here without being seen. Same for this area. And this one is really hard, but you can do it here too, because all these trees are annoying. But basically, what you can do is you can put yourself in a position where they walk at you here, right? They TP to this tower. So what you do is you walk this way, right? You make the path, like let's say this was his hero. He would walk straight here, go down this ramp, walk across mid, and then be over on this side, right? And the reason we do that is because more or less we just want to drag people away, right? We don't want them to be on our side because we are weak. We have a majority of our team's net worth, and we're not quite ready to take engagements. So the best thing we can do is buy time. Some of these moves are inherently very risky, by the way, so you will die periodically doing this. But there's always going to be there's always going to be like a risk versus reward system that is tied to a hero like Naga because of the way that she can play. I like that we're occupying the Ancients now. This is a really good spot to be. His illusions hit the wave perfectly in mid. We're TPing a bit premature. Okay, so why don't I like this TP? Let's go back. Let's talk about this TP in general. Where we are right now is such a strong position on the map. It is so good. Like we are in a spot where we are creating pressure simply by existing. Like nothing is required of us. We can hit this camp. You know, we can use this illusion to push this wave, or using this illusion to push this wave. What happens right now if my whole team dies, right? How many creeps does the enemy team actually have? Well, we just cut this wave right here, which means that we know that this wave isn't going. Right here, we have another wave, and right here, there's no tower, right? And this wave is also pushing out. We even have a double wave here. So this is what I would call like general, like macro awareness talk. We have two lanes that we know for sure are pushing. The third one, we are actively cutting. So right now, the enemy team can actually apply zero pressure after this tower dies, right? Like if everyone were to explode, just, you know, Thanos them, all four of my heroes evaporate, they still won't be able to hit this tower. Because we are in the position to where the creep wave will just never be there, right? They won't have creeps. And if they don't have creeps, they can't actually hit the tower. The other thing is that we haven't looked at any of the information to gauge if the fight is actually good or not, right? Like, we haven't clicked on any of our heroes. We haven't clicked on any of the other heroes. We haven't done anything. We haven't done anything that's like... How do I explain it? We haven't done anything that's telling us if the fight is going to be won or not. This is like a pre-committal. We're saying before anything even happens that we want to be here, even though our position on the map is incredibly powerful. So the only time this TP ever ends up being good is if for some reason we like 5-0 them. And we have no idea of knowing if that's going to happen, right? Because no spells have even been cast up to this point. So let's see what happens. Our illusions are still in very good spots. Enemy team's just going to back off. Nothing's going to happen. So what did the TP net us? Pun intended. It didn't really give us anything, right? We gave up a really strong position on the map, and we teleported, and we're hitting some creeps, but the area in which we're hitting creeps is significantly worse. And now getting back to the place where we were before is very hard to do. We're still kind of just chilling here. We're trying to create some resistance to the enemy team's push. Anything that Naga does where we're not, like, let's say farming the wave in a camp, or farming 2 camps or 3 camps or 2 waves in a camp, is inefficient at this stage. You know, we have the finished Scotty, we have the Manta. Our illusions shred right now. We're actually pretty strong. Despite not having like a very efficient game in general, we still have enough farm to where we can threaten the enemy cores because everyone in this game is playing the same level, right? We are definitely spending a lot more time like looking at fights and stuff. And I don't even really hate the idea of looking at the fights. It's more about what are we actively gaining from attending the fight right now. Alright, so we're going to cancel the song, we're going to combo a Bristle. That guy's very tanky. Doesn't look like he's going to die, but I think we have a Silver Edge. At least I heard one. I think the Shaker might have it. Alright, there's the Blink Requiem. 2 heroes instantly die. We aggro song here, so we have to TP if we want to live, probably. I don't know why the SF's running. Alright, nice. 1 kill. Hook to save. I think that tornado hit the SF. He's got another net here. He doesn't have any illus, though. Kind of a hard kill. Alright, there we go. Blink Pudge. Nice. Okay, so we sat there for a while. We're pretty tanky. The damage types that the enemy team does, besides the SF Magic Requiem and stuff, are pretty weak to the Naga, because we have almost 30 armor, right? Like Bristle, Clinks, Weaver, even SF to a degree, they deal quite a bit of physical damage. So as far as Naga games go, this one is fan-friggin-tastic. Very good Naga game. Probably want to swap on our Reaver for the Dust. Like, having Dust is great, but at this point in the game, having other items is really good too. You could also swap in the Reaver for the Wraith Band as well. That would also be good, if you really, really wanted to have the detection. There we go. Alright, he did it. He heard me in past tense. I think this game happened like a day ago or something like that. He heard me even then. Alright, nice. Now, right now, this position on the map is so good. He's in a great spot again. This is the perfect place to be on the map. I don't think there's actually a better spot that he could be occupying right now than this one. And we're going to TP to the fight again. So what happens as a result of the TP is we watched a hero die. Obviously, you know, that doesn't really benefit us too much. We're going to throw in Ensnare. Weaver might die here, actually. Yep, he's gonna die.
I'm a wet work specialist.
And then I believe we may be getting a Clinks as well. Alright, nice. Oh, the Shaker has Aghanims too. Okay. So this stuff just kind of ends up working out, right? But the habits of like these sort of TPs are, I would say they're very unhealthy habits to learn as far as what actually constitutes a good TP and a bad TP. Like, just because something works doesn't necessarily mean the idea behind it was sound, but there will be lots of things that happen like that. Like, you could make a play and it ends up working out and you think the play was actually correct, but if they just simply walked away from the teleport, I don't think anybody on Dire would have died. Walking the other direction is actually OP, especially when the enemy team doesn't have stuns. Okay, so now we get T1. We do know that Roshan is available. I want to put like a disclaimer on this comment because low-level MMR is a completely different beast. People play by different rules, right? Things don't go the way that even like an average Dota player would expect them to go a lot of the time. But this is the time where you would want to call for something like Rosh, right? We kill a core, we kill Abba. We have this wave pushed out really far. They have no top tier 1. We can even pressure the T2 a little bit. But in the moment, the best call is probably to try to Rosh. Now, do we have damage to kill Roshan? I think we have an Exort Invoker. This guy is very poor. Do we have the damage? I think it would be kind of close. Theoretically, if we were like doing our absolute best to win the game, if we go back in time, we go to like right here, like even the Weaver is dead, right? Like this guy dies. I would say as of this moment, more important than anything else on the map is Rosh. And the reason why Rosh is more important than towers is because what happens so often in pubs is that a team will push and they'll either be underprepared for the push or they won't be ready for like a buyback or something like that. And they will want to play aggressive because they just want to fight. They will die most of the time, right? I'm sure even Grubby's games have been this way where someone will walk up the hill and then they will die when they walk up the hill and be like, oh yeah, that was dumb, right? But they didn't kill Rosh, so the opposition ends up taking the opportunity and killing Rosh because they're so far away from another objective that the only thing that makes sense is Roshan. So then you have another fight that you're going to be at a disadvantage because the enemy team killed the thing that you could have killed but chose not to. The later the game goes, the more important Rosh is as well, because the more Roshes that die, you start getting Shard, you get Cheese, you get Ags, you know, Refresher Shard, all these other things that can come off of Roshan. They are just exponential power increases. So that, like, the absolute best thing to do would be to go hit Rosh.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Like, taking the tower is fine, too.
Dire's fortified, I see.
But if you're going to take this tower, like, if this tower is going to die, if we were not going to go for the Rosh play, what we could do as a singular player, if we didn't want to communicate at all, walking up here is the best play. Now, there's a couple of reasons walking up here is best. First off, playing on a hill. Playing on a hill is great. There is the SF over here, but our team is sort of nearby, right? Like, this guy has Blink Lens, we have an Invoker, we have this Earthshaker, he's got Aghanims, which is sort of like a crappy Blink. But you could walk up this hill, and then if the SF is here, he's going to get forced out, right? He can't stay. You theoretically have, like, 3 heroes at your back and your core Naga walking up this hill. This is the most valuable real estate on the map. We can cut the wave. Wave just spawned, 35 seconds, it's right here. We can take all of these camps, and we can even capture the outpost because the tier 2 is dead. Now, the outpost is like the icing on the cake, you know? It's the thing that makes the enemy team able to contest Roshan, because that should be the next thing on the menu. Like, if you want to go kill the tier 1 bottom, like, that's fine too, but you're playing as far away from the most important objective on the map, right? Now, there's no guarantee the enemy team would take advantage of this, seeing someone bottom and then walking over there, but again, it's habits. You know, where do I want to be at any given point? The best place to be? Right here, where our illusion is.
Dire's middle tower is fallen.
Let's see.
A gift from the tempest of
Let us see what happens. Okay, so the Weaver just kind of TP's bottom. And this is an important thing to note. Whenever you see stuff like this, TP economy, right? What does that mean? If we were to walk up here, not only would this guy have 2 dead teammates, but his Weaver wouldn't even be able to TP because he wanted to kill this wave. This is going to happen all the time. You know, all those dives that happen, and you're like, wow, why didn't anyone TP? Or, wow, why did no one TP for me? I just got dove. It's because this guy did this, right? Now, is he wrong for TPing here? Not necessarily, right? This tower is going to take damage. He's a fast hero. He wants to depush. But this is the type of stuff that could be happening all game, right? If we were doing more cutting, if we were doing more aggressive positioning, if we were using our song to escape and forcing TPs, we could have created a lot more moments like this, where this guy is now all alone. This SF, you can't see him on the screen, but the minimap icon is showing him there. And we would have opportunities to just take control of the most valuable real estate on the map for free. Free real estate. But we see a hero on the map. Our eyes glow red with bloodlust. We must fight them, as is the way. Roshan is one of those things that you always want to... You always want to have on your mind. Because playing the correct side of the map is often thinking about what is, like, the most valuable thing you can get. If you understand what the best objective is, then you know where to play, just instinctively.
Dire's bottom tower is taking a beating. Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
Alright, so everyone is in the bot lane. It's a party down here.
Fresh meat.
Alright, SF goes in. He's going to get the SF kill. We could not get our song off because I think the SF has the talent now. The talent that gives you the extra fear. That talent is quite strong. Gave him plenty of time to kill our team. So, if we had been top, essentially what would happen is we'd have the mid wave push into tier 3. The top wave, instead of being at our base, would be at their own tier 2. We would have captured the outpost, and we would have been holding a really strong defensive posture, farming a ton of camps, killing 2 creep waves simultaneously if we really wanted to, and we would have been preventing them from ever being able to go to Roche, right? But now we're here anyway, so that's good. It's actually really good that he just walked up here instead of, like, you know, walking bottom or walking backwards into his own woods. That's great. Very happy that he didn't walk bottom.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Let's see, what else can we do right now?
Radiant's been fortificated.
I like the illusions here. His timing is pretty good, but they're gonna despawn a little bit early, I guess. Can't really have them up that long. But the idea is sound, right? That's a good habit to have. That's a really good habit.
Radiant's bottom tower
We're probably playing it too passive. We just want to be killing the wave in the lane. I think he realizes it, but it's like... Ooh, we got the Bristle kill too. Okay, yeah. So we're making our way to the correct spot. We have a Weaver in our lane, but this guy can't kick us out, right? Yeah, we know we're stronger than this guy. This guy's a fool. He can't stop the Naga Siren. This is also like a bit of a smaller thing, but if you know the guy in your lane can't threaten you at all, just always push the lane. Don't let him be the one to scare you away, right? Like, chasing him is also kind of not what we want to do. Okay, yeah, we're going to turn around. Good. That's good. Oh, he has an A on disc. Interesting. Yeah, this guy on his own should never be allowed to kick us out, so I'm really happy to see that he's not letting that happen. I think we want to start sending illusions towards mid here, too, since we're in this place.
The Dire's top tower is under attack.
Everyone's off map, so I'm actually fine with him playing it a little bit back. With 4,000 health, though, I don't even think the SF can kill him. Like, this is going to be more of a gut feel experience. The more you play the hero, you're going to understand what you can live through and what you can't, and he probably feels a bit scared. But I don't believe he can die to the SF. It has to be more than just him. So leaving this part of the map right now is probably just because he felt like he couldn't play there, but in reality he can. So that's just like, we'll call it like limit testing or limit knowing, right? I would say if you're going to play these tanky type cores, it's probably good to get into the habit of trying to play the side of the map you want to be on, even past the point of your own comfort. That way you experience when you are stronger than you think and when you're not. Like, that's how you learn in-depth matchup knowledge. You won't learn if you don't try, basically. And right now, he is actually very, very powerful. He's the highest farm in the game, actually. Even despite having that start, too. So, again, it's credit to the fact that he's still farming decently, and he hasn't died that many times. But right now, we probably want to start making our way back towards top. Like, the lanes, despite us kind of getting picked off all over the map, the lanes are actually still in a pretty good spot. So there's not really a whole lot of things that can happen after a kill. So, like, the ES and the Invoker die, but what's going to have to happen after the fight occurs is that they're going to have to address where the creeps are before they can make a play for an objective, and that's a good thing. You want that. You want to be the team that has all the ways, like, push past the river. That's one of the biggest benefits that Naga gives, honestly. Silver is going to be up here. He doesn't have net, though, for a few seconds. Ooh. A little bit of a misplay by the Pudge, but that's fine. This guy is quite tanky. We are too, though. Oh no, he's so slow, you can't chase him because of the Ags. Alright, good song. Right now, okay, let's talk about what the Silver Edge allows us to do. First, let's check this guy. No detection. This guy, he has 1 dust, but we have a Manta. This guy has no detection. So what we could do, theoretically, is walk where they can't see us, hit this, and then walk behind them. That would be like the most bang for your buck type play. There is a chance this guy just randomly pops dust. Is he gonna do it? Let's watch. Is he just gonna dust randomly? I'm gonna click him. Okay, no, he didn't do it. So, doing the unexpected play, especially at the lower MMRs, is usually going to work. And the unexpected play is going into fog, popping the Silver Edge, and then cutting more waves, right? Because what ends up happening as a result of him walking here is that he ends up walking into the hero that he can't fight, which is the SF. And as soon as he's in a part of the map where he can't fight the hero, he's like giving away his map control, right? If up here he hits the Shadow Blade and he walks up, he's going to hit the next wave, and he's going to force these guys to turn around. He's going to force this guy over here to potentially TP, right? Because he didn't use his TP top, he just walked away. Again, about space creation. It's about how much can you make the enemy team use in order to stop what you're doing? But yeah, what ends up happening here is we get collapsed on. Everyone's gonna join together, and it looks like it's probably gonna kill us. Ooh, maybe. Maybe he lives. Nice. The heart regen coming in big. Swap in the stick. Swap in the stick. Nice. Okay, so this is another situation. This TP, this TP didn't have to happen, right? Let's look and see how much health he had when he TP'd. Big thing to remember about heart is that you're gaining this HP back all the time. I know these situations seem like, oh my god, I have no health. I have no mana. What can I do, right? But there's a creep wave right here that's gonna hit. This Weaver's out of mana. Okay, he can stick. But even if you didn't want to contest, you have a ward here. You can use this vision to your advantage. No one can sneak up on you because you have this vision. What you can do is you can stay right here, right? We can wait to see what's going on. We take time, right? We try not to panic. We take a deep breath. We know we've gotten out, like we've disengaged. And we look over here and we see what's up. We never TP unless we know for a fact that we have to, right? Because he has 80 health regen a second. That means in less than a minute, he's going to be full HP. Full. That's not even 2 creep wave spawns. Just to give you an idea of like how the flow of the game goes. It's not even 2 creep waves. He will be full life. And he has a 20 charge stick, which means he'll also have a decent amount of mana. Does he have to go back here? He might in the moment feel like he has to, but he actually doesn't. Like, we would have seen that Weaver. Shikuchi's in. He's going like towards this triangle area to fight right now. We could have hit our mirror image mid and pushed that wave out, and then walked towards bottom and push this wave, and then played like we would push this middle lane and push this bottom lane, and then we would farm like up here, right? A lot of these things are going to take time, but the concepts are applicable to every single carry in the game. The cutting stuff with the illusions obviously is specific to like the TBs and the Nagas, but the concept of having a hero that is slippery and playing behind enemy lines, that's always going to be nice. Also, I haven't really talked a whole lot about item choices this game because I feel his items are honestly fine. Like, this is the type of thing where an item like Silver Edge is addressing a problem that I don't feel like would really be a problem if the game was like a little bit higher level, right? But because of the way the game is being played, Silver Edge seems like an attractive option. So I can't really fault him for buying this item in this situation because he has a hero on the enemy team that he feels like he needs to kill with it. The added benefit of the Silver Edge is it allows you to play crazy aggressive, right? We have a Dispel, which means we can remove Dust. We can go in, farm triangle, farm enemy jungle, take outpost, be super annoying, you know? And we can also force them to commit resources into stopping our split by making them buy sentries, by making them buy Dust. And there's not really even a guarantee that we would die to that stuff, right? Because we're still extraordinarily tanky at this stage.
That courier never did wrong by nobody.
I like where we are on the map too. This is great. When I see stuff like this is how you know, right? I love the fact that he's also dewarding as well. This is a great habit. Really, really great habit. I think the ward placement is a little off-center, but I think it actually is still fine. It won't get hit by the sentry. But this idea is great. Like, where he is right now, again, this is like being on a strip in Vegas, you know? This is where you want to be. When shit's going down, you want to be here. I think he's going for a Weaver kill. Let's see what happens. This guy has an Aeon, though. Yeah, he triggered it. So the kill itself doesn't really... It's never really going to happen, right? But the idea of pushing him out of the lane is still really good. Make him run away, then keep pushing, right? I think I would actually prefer him to farm towards bottom right now than top. Now, you would ask, why bottom over top? Well, farming towards top, even though they have like a creep wave, like walking towards the base and stuff, these two guys have buybacks. Honestly, both are fine. The reason I like this one a little bit more is because it opens up base pressure, right? The longer the game goes, the more damage you're going to deal to buildings. So if we look at free cam right now, we can see the creep wave here. It's quite a bit behind where the enemy team actually is. They're invisible, but they're here. Hitting this and opening up this lane for harass, and this one's already open as well. This is the part where you have to start threatening a greater objective than what the enemy team is going to want to take. So for example, enemy team's pushing your tier 3 tower in the top lane. If you can counter pressure a tier 3 tower, even if you're not killing it as fast, you're still causing a situation to where the enemy team can make a mistake. There are plenty of times when you're going to prioritize the wrong thing while you're learning, and that's fine, right? But if you're ever in a situation like this, 3 guys dead, it's actually super lucky that these guys have buyout. Hell, in my games, people don't have buyout like this. But if we want to apply like the most pressure, it's by hitting this first and then sending illusions bottom so that the wave is like collapsing onto this tower. So what I would do is I would control group my illusions. I would walk them bottom. My main hero would be here. I'd be hitting this wave, and then I would start hitting mid. Like straight away. Looks like he is going to make his way over there. Now, they're diving our base right now, but they don't actually have creeps, right? So if the wave dies, what you can also do is, I think his manta's up right now, right? All right, so we're at 4220. The ideal spot, and this is another reason why being mid is so good. If you're mid and you have manta and mirror images, you can cut all 3 waves. All 3. Your main hero's in the middle. 2 of your mirror images are this way. Your mantas are over here. That means that every single creep wave is dead. And you can pop it right now, right? Because every 30 seconds, right? You want to ingrain that into your brain. Every 30 seconds, every 30 seconds, every 30 seconds. The cool part is that this spell is a 25-second cooldown. That means you can catch every single wave. This thing right here is 30 seconds. That means you can catch every single wave. So long as you pop it, you know, a few seconds before the wave actually spawns. That means theoretically, your base should never be in contention, right? Because the only thing that has to happen is this wave and the wave behind it have to die to like either Invoker spells or Earthshaker spells, and then you'll deal with the rest. At most, if you cut this wave, the enemy is going to have 2 creep waves, and then after that they are all dead. Every single one. So let's see what happens top. Now, because no one's buying back, I can only assume, you know, certain levels of tilt, but who actually knows? He does make his way over here. One person is forced to TP back. We're just going to be doing some damage to the tower. Now, we really, really do not want to give up our position right now. Giving up our position is the worst thing that we can do. Like, the spot that we were in on the map was so powerful. That was the best spot we could have been the entire game so far. And the only person that forced us out was an Ava, right? So let's see, are we gonna get a kill out of this? Oh, he glimpsed him back. Oh no. That's a little bit unfortunate. He might still die though. Nice. 1 kill. We've lost 2 sets, but honestly, a Naga game, it's manageable. All right, let's see. Roshan actually is still on the table, by the way. So what do we do here? What's our best objective? It's going to be Rosh, right? Everything is very far away. So this is the exact situation that I was describing earlier when I was saying the enemy team is going to die on your hill at some point. It's gonna happen. They're gonna walk up the hill. They might Rax. They might not Rax. They will die. Especially against teams that have Naga and Disruptor and like a Blink Shaker or whatever. You guys have great catch, right? Heroes that have that kind of catch, people are going to die on the hill. That's Dota 2. So once this guy's off the map, this guy's off the map, the way to get back into the game from like these double rack situations, which you're going to be in quite often, is if the enemy team fails to do the basic stuff, right? The basic stuff is killing this guy. When this face is here, you know Roshan's up. I mean, obviously you won't see that in-game, but you should always keep tabs, right? If you don't know when Roshan spawns, you kill him, and then there's an 8-minute timer. After the 8-minute timer, he can spawn in the next 3 minutes. So it's a random time interval after the first 8 minutes. Then there's 3 more minutes in the window that he can spawn, and then he'll be up again. And Aegis is 5 minutes CD. So if you weren't paying attention to when Roshan died, you just look at the Aegis and you're like, oh, okay. You know, it goes from 5 minutes to whenever when they pick it up. And then you'll be able to just subtract that from the timer and you'll know when he's going to be there. But yeah, if we all walk to Roche right now with alacrity and stuff, even after killing this Klings, this kill is big, by the way. They get it. Nice. Oh, maybe they're all going to die, actually. Yeah, if they all die, it's definitely a Roche play. Like I said, I haven't seen this game yet, but looks like the SF is quite powerful.
Yes.
This guy doesn't have ulti? Oh, there we go. Alright, caught by the Gleipnir. Nice use of the mirror image. Our butterfly is not in our inventory. That is a bit troubling. Probably want to swap that in after this fight. Alright, so the Klinks actually just die-backed. Now if we don't go to Roche, we're insane. Nice, I think he's pinging it. Nice, Grubby knows. So in this situation, we probably want to take our boots out, put the butterfly in for the wand, and then instead of boots, we will have Aegis. This is the right call. This is a high-pressure situation, though, so I don't really blame him for not having the item. There we go. He can definitely solo this. This is a great call, for sure. The unfortunate part is nobody on our team is taking part in the festivities, so it's taking a while. If our team was here, this thing would have been dead ages ago. Nice. Roshan dead. We might get a bonus bristleback kill as well. That would be very nice. Ooh, almost. Our team is coming in, though. Maybe we'll get something. Oh my goodness. The Weaver just assassinated the bristleback with the Naganims. You hate to see it, honestly. Nice, nice, nice. This is honestly the most winnable game I've ever seen. I actually don't even know who wins this because I didn't look at the results when I uploaded the replay. So they could actually win. I don't know.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower is fallen.
Alright, so things we have to look out for. There's a Weaver in our base. This is a support Weaver, though, so I don't really think he has that much. SF is okay. This is the part where it gets kind of sketch. This guy is hitting a tier 3, right? This guy is caster build, so he doesn't necessarily kill the base that fast. However, we don't know the buyback status of the Bristle, right? Do we? He didn't buy back, right? Okay, so we don't know if this guy can buy back. Weaver's TPing back to base. These are the types of situations where everyone has to be on the same page, right? Everyone has to be on the same page. We have to either commit to the defense, everyone backs at the same time so we don't get picked, or we commit to the all-in and we just go for it, right? Now, I have no idea what's going to happen here, but my instinct as a player is we have Aegis, right? If we get Megad, it's really bad if the game continues and we don't know if we can actually end the game. So let's say it's an unknown, right? Can we finish? Maybe. So as soon as I make that distinction, my gut is telling me I want to prevent us from getting Megad more than I want to try to all in. Because as long as we're not playing against Megas, this game is quite winnable. And we've shown through the previous fights that our hero is giga strong. Like, we're walking in, we're just flexing on everyone, man. The Bristle can't kill us, the Weaver can't kill us, the Klings can't kill us. Even the SF is going to struggle. So what is the way that we lose the game? Our all-in fails, and then we get Megad because we didn't address the bottom push. That's what I would be the most scared of, right? Now, obviously, he doesn't have a TP. So what I would say is that obviously having a TP by this point would be great. But we're kind of committed, right? If he really wanted to, if he wanted to stop what was happening, he could Manta an illusion and try to kill the wave that's going to spawn here, right? Because that's where the SF is. But since we don't have TP, we're going to have to rely on the other people on our team. I don't know if I've ever seen a Weaver with a Shivas before. First time for everything, I guess. Yeah, we are going to have to be a little bit careful here because everyone's leaving. Looks like the SF, is he dead? Alright, our Shaker is with us. We can try to make some plays. Nice little echo. SF actually has no buy. Did we just win the game? I think we won the game, guys. Unless... Bump, bump. I actually have no idea what's happening. He's so strong, though. They can't deal with him. We could just hit tier 4s, I think. There's tier 2s in both top and bottom lanes, so our only thing that we can really do here is hit the throne. Oh, the SF just got buyback gold. He didn't have it a second ago, right? Okay, yeah, he didn't have it, and then he gets it, like... There we go. Okay, yeah, he didn't have it when he died, but he got it as he was respawning. Alright, so this situation is starting to get a little bit sus. We have some people nearby, though. The Clink still does a fair bit of damage to us as well. We probably don't want to be hitting the Bristleback. So let's talk about the high pressure situation. Like, how do we make heads or tails of what to do here, right? We're doing this play where we're inside the enemy team's base. We know for a fact that the Klink's bought out before, so his buyback is going to be on cooldown, right? When we're in this like high stress situation and we see people who have either expended their buyback or they die back or whatever, that is your target for the next fight. Especially if the other heroes are super tanky, right? If they require heavy commitment to kill, they're usually not a good option when you're in the enemy's base, because that's more time for the enemy team to be respawning, it's more time for them to get gold for buyback, it's more time for basically everything. When you're in your base defending, the thing that you're looking for is time. You can use more spells, you can get more gold, you can push out more waves. There's like, every second that you spend in the enemy team's base is benefiting them, right? They're going to get more creep wave spawns, all this other stuff. So hitting this guy, of all the heroes, is like the target that we don't want the most. So what could we do in this situation to try to play it? So this guy has... I don't know how many spells the Invoker has, actually, because I wasn't paying attention to it. This guy doesn't have Echo either. But, theoretically, if we were going to go for anybody, it would probably be Klinks, right? If we land a net on him, he can't invis because he'll get revealed. And then we can just auto-attack on the death. We know he's super squishy because we killed him before. So... that, in addition to knowing he doesn't have buy right now, let's pull up the buy tab to make sure I'm not lying to everybody. Yeah, it's still on cooldown for 4 minutes. That would be the guy I would want to kill first, and then I would consider maybe killing the SF. But this Bristle hero is really annoying for us.
Slice of life.
Alright, so now we're going to respawn. The Shaker actually left, which is problematic. We could have also swapped on our boots a bit faster here, but yeah, we're going to eat a Requiem. And we're going to end up going down. Okay, so the summation of this is the targets that we need to kill, we couldn't really get to them, right? Like, we would need the Shaker or the Invoker to use spells in order for us to close the gap on the other hero. So suffice to say, if the rest of our team isn't there, we probably can't make that play. And it's better to, like, try to song and get out and, like, reset the map and play with our Aegis for the next fight than it is to try to all-in, right? That's kind of like the post-mortem breakdown of what would have been better. In that situation specifically, it's kind of rough because in a better game, our teammates would be there, right? Like, they would make the distinction that we can just end the game, and they would simply walk to where the Naga is, and then we would be together, and if they try to make that play on us, they all die. But you kind of have to play the game how it is, and not how it's meant to be. And that's just like one of the facts of Dota. Like, the game is almost never going to play out the way that it should. Like, literally almost never. Someone's going to make a mistake, someone's going to do some weird stuff, buy a weird item, do a weird pick, like... Oh, we're going to eat another Requiem here. Okay. I think this might be the end of the game. Alright. So... last little part we're going to talk about in the video, because I assume, yeah, the replay is going to end about right here. So we know this is the end of the game based on the replay. when you buy back in a late game situation, especially like I'm sure he bought back because he wanted to put it on cooldown, and having it cooldown faster is always going to be better. There are points where since the game is 50 minutes in and the enemy team is more or less barreling into your towers, right? Because they're going to be pushing your high ground. Your life is paramount importance as the one. Like the 1 and the 2 are the guys who usually do the most in the fights. So when you buy back, there needs to be a sense of self-preservation that is way higher than it normally is, because if you go down again, the game will immediately end. This is especially true when the enemy team is at your door, right? They're at the tier 3s, they're on the low ground, they're like preparing a siege, you just bought back, they know it's on cooldown. It's the same ideology as what we were explaining when we were pushing at their throne. If we could kill the Clinks again, or we could kill the SF again, we could have just as easily won the game. But unfortunately, we didn't have the people nearby in order to help us kill anyone, and we ended up dying twice because the SF is able to Requiem off of our Aegis respawn, which is just, you know, it's a fact of the hero. He can do that. But overall, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this video. A lot of the points are kind of a bit repetitive, but it's very important for the one player to understand like what his actual role is in the game. Most of the time, you're not going to be keen to fight until you have like a 2 or 3 item timing. And the quicker you get those items, the better and more impactful you're going to feel when you do decide to go to these engagements. And this stuff is going to be learned over time. And he's already made, you know, great strides in improving as a player, and he's got a good attitude for it. So I'm sure he'll do well. But I hope not just Grubby learns a little bit from this video, but you guys learned a little bit of something as well. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys all soon. Thanks for watching.